Hey everyone, welcome back to the Arms, Armor, and Awesome build out on the Jayce Mace Part 2. You can see we start off with the mace basically where it was left off. I was crafted the top fins out of some really thin flexible plastic. I actually used PVC backer board from Home Improvement Store. And it was about this time that I realized the first piece I made for the mace to go at the bottom of the mace was wrong. So you'll see me remake that here halfway through this video. Start up by cutting the parts that will be turned into that. This is how I build my blanks. Simple spray glue, both halves, and then clamp and let it dry. It's really simple. That builds me my blanks that I use for turning. Next part, I'm doing very similar. I'm using a single piece this time. It would happen to be wide enough for my purposes. It's a 2x2 sheet. And I will be turning another round tube. You'll see me here working the lathe. It's very similar to the last time I did this. These tube will be turned into, there's two small cylinders alongside the mace head. The process is similar to how I described it in the first one. Because the foam is rotating so quickly, it's nice and easy to shave and shape. So this went really fast. I was getting pretty good at it this time. Alright, once I get those freed off, they're nice and easy to clean up. And this will be turning of the second part, or the second try, should I say, at the bottom of the mace head. It's a kind of ornate piece that goes from the handle on top of or up to the mace head, kind of flares out and meets it. The first part, I realized I shaped completely wrong, so it ended up being scrap, and had to turn a whole new one. You can see I'm using pink foam this time. Like I said, it's a matter of what I had on hand. Blue or pink doesn't seem to matter too much when it comes to this technique. Once we get it good, we rough it out with some 200 grit sandpaper just to make it nice and fine. As we move on through the build, you can see the new part there. I'm measuring it out to find a good fit. It actually has to go up and over the mace head, so I had to remove quite a large portion from the center of it. And it also had to be cross-drilled with a 2-inch center in order to fit over the shaft. So here you can see the Shopsmith not only is my lathe, but it also acts as a drill press. If you don't have a drill press, it's a great tool to find and buy. You can get them pretty cheap at $50, $60. And it's a worthwhile investment that'll really never treat you wrong. So these are the two side cylinders that I made. I cross-drilled those as well. Those would have support. And after a few quick marks and measurements, I removed the center material from the bottom of the new sleeve that I just made that'll go up over the mace head. Alright, you can see there's the mace with the center disc on it. I'm check fitting. Always important to do. You want to make sure that your project is always fitting before you go ahead any further. In this case I had to take quite a bit more out before it was actually a good look. You can finally see it starting to come together. I'm going to take another picture for a Facebook update there. These discs required a small amount of material to be removed from the back so they would fit over. That's what I'm doing here, just using a hand rasp, a very small amount of material to be removed. Just enough to fit over the cylinder that is the handle. So the handle would go up the center of the mace there. You see where it is to support, and then the discs go over the top of it to hide it from view. Little top fins you see me there working with were kind of a complex shape to get. They were a combination of trial and error and a little bit of intuition. I've done some things like that before, but they were several hours worth of work just to get the shape right. I went through a whole lot of different variations until I was really happy with the design. The material itself is just a really thin PVC. I cut it to shape and then heat bend it with a heat gun, and that gave me the final shapes that I would need for the whole project. At this point, I am taking the originals that I had for the top fins on the mace and recreating them. I had to make at least 2 sets of them. I think I made a few more than that just due to my own mistakes and errors. You can see that there's an Easton baseball bat down there at the bottom of the screen. I'm actually using that to form the pieces over. It had about the right diameter that I needed for the bend, so I would heat the plastic and then use the baseball bat for shaping. Alright, on to the important part. This is fiberglassing. I'm using a epoxy resin and a real simple cloth. It's a lightweight cloth, only a few ounce, 3 or 4 ounce cloth. And what I do is you put down the epoxy resin and it will actually become clear once it penetrates the cloth and begins to bind to the surface beneath it. Because it's an epoxy, it has a much longer curing time. But doesn't get nearly as hot as other types, as a polyester resin might, which was good because of the fact that I was working on foam, and the fact that epoxy won't melt the foam that you're working on, so that was kind of key to this whole process. The entire mace is done this way. This was to ensure the strength of it. Once the mace was fully covered, you can see there, I've primed it, sanded it, and now I'm going over it with gesso. The gesso is purely to help give good grab for the paint, to ensure that there's a good, smooth, strong surface for all the paint to bond to. It wasn't needed as a prep for the foam, because at this point there was no foam left exposed. Alright, we're almost done with the paint getting cleaned up, and once we had a good coat of gesso on it, we moved forward. Once again, this is the Arms, Armor, and Awesome video on building out on Jayce Mace Part 2. You can find us at armsarmorandawesome.com.